Hello everyone, in this tutorial video, I'll be showing you how to turn any 2D logo to 3D in Cinema 4D. For this tutorial, I'll be making use of the latest version of Cinema 4D, which right now is Cinema 4D 2023. So if you have a slightly older version like R26, R25 and R24, you should follow up with this video just fine. And also, I'm making use of Corona Render Engine. So make sure you have that installed if you want to be able to follow up with me during the rendering stage. If you have a different render engine that you are comfortable with, sure, you can make use of that for the tutorial and you can skip the rendering stage. Alright then, let's jump right to the tutorial. Okay guys, for this tutorial I'll be using Cinema 4D 2023, but the interface of 2023, R25 and R26, they are all alike, so you should follow up just fine. For this tutorial, we're making use of this Twitter logo. So what you need to do first is click on the Twitter logo, right click and go to properties. In the properties menu, go to the details tab. In here you'll see the dimension, and what we are more interested in is the dimension width and the dimension height. So now back in Cinema 4D, we'll create a plane object. When we create a plane object, you'll notice in the attributes window, you will see the width and the height. So we want the width and the height of this and the image to align. I will explain the reason why in a sec. So the width here is 2491. The width here is 2491, while the height is 2049. The main reason for doing this is to get the aspect ratio, so that the aspect ratio of our plane here will match the aspect ratio of that picture. Towards the right hand side of the screen, you see the material manager. Click on it to open up the material manager. To add in the material, click on this plus button. Now this will add in a Cinema 4D material. You click and hold if you want to add other kinds of Cinema 4D material, but we'll be making use of the default material here. So now double click on the material, which will open the material editor color. Now in the colors tab, head over to textures. Now we'll load up the Twitter logo picture. So now we'll just drag it and drop it on our plane, either in the viewport, or we'll drag it and drop it on our plane on the object manager. So now you see the aspect ratio of the image fits in perfect. If we didn't do the thing we did at the start of the tutorial, let me show you what I mean. If I change the width now to a random width size, you see the aspect ratio will not match. So now this is now where we start making bread. You head over to the right side of your screen under where the material editor icon was. You see the toggle active view, this button here. When you click on it, it will open up the quad view. Now what we're interested in is the top view. You click on this again for the top view. Each view has their own, like say, toggle active view. So we'll click this for the top view. Then here we can zoom out. Press 1 and left click to navigate. Or 2 and left click to zoom out, zoom in, by 3 and left click to rotate. Now if you notice, we're in the wireframe view. The wireframe view is not what we would like to work with. We'd like to work with the ground shading view. Because we'll be working with splines in this tutorial, if we start drawing these splines right now, they will be too thin, their lines will be too thin, which will be hard for you to see. So go into the edit, preferences, video display, go down to spline thickness. Yours by default will be set to either 1 or 0 thereabout. Set it to 5. 5 like decent thickness, that is 1. Number 2, click on your plane, go to coordinates. Now on the y-axis, set it to -2. This is very important. Now that all that is done, we can move into the spline creation. Now you see this icon over here, this pen icon. This is the spline pen tool. When you click on it, give you the ability to be able to draw splines. Now we'll back to our spline pen tool and let's zoom in. Let's start our drawing. We'll click on a point and drag till you get a decent alignment. Then let's go on. So yeah, well, I'm basically going to trace out this logo. So now let's say, like here now, I've increased it to a point that I feel like I can't go any further. If I leave the left click button and I press shift on my keyboard and click on one of the handles, it will only move that handle. It will move the 2 handles. So now I'll move this. Click on this. So I'm basically, in a nutshell, tracing this entire image. I'm tracing the entire image. You press shift again to break it. You move down. Press shift to break it. You move up. You adjust it. You press shift to break it. You move down. You press shift to break it. You move up, you adjust it. You press shift to break it. You add another spline here. So I'm going to go ahead and trace it all out. This one that I know that is a repetitive task, so make sure you take your time to do a neat job here, because if you don't do a neat job here, it will affect our next step. It's okay if your splines don't align perfectly. It's okay. I think I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. So let's look through it. Let's look that everywhere, because we can always go back. Let's say you're not feeling a point, you can always click on that point and adjust it, and even adjust the orientation of each handle. And this is something I feel like I should let you know. Once you have pressed shift to break an handle, like I've done for this one, I've already broken the handle. Like I can move the handle separately. If you press shift again to move an handle, it won't work. You have to select it normally because you have already broken the handle. But assuming you have not broken the handle before, you have to press shift and break the handle. Why this is my way do it like this, I don't know. So I guess we just have to bear with them now. And now that we're done with this spline, you see it's plan that they created here for us, and we can go back to our normal 3D view. Now in our normal 3D view, you will see this spline, and you see our bird plane. Let's call it bird plane. Go into plane, press enter on the keyboard to rename and call it. Okay, now for this spline, let's call it bird. BIRL. Now once you are done with all that, you can click this check mark button to just quickly disable the plane. Now we're left with our spline. So what we'll do after this, we add our extrude, dragging the bird to the extrude. Now sideways, you see our bird now has thickness. So basically we are saying we added an extrude and we now made the bird a child of the extrude. So it's saying, okay, we are extruding this bird. So now when we click on the extrude, we have various parameters here, and we can go to the objects tab and increase the offset. This will increase the thickness of the bird. We can increase it both in the positive axis and in the negative axis. I will increase in the negative axis for this tutorial. So yeah, but feel free to do what you want. Yeah, the creative. So now we go to caps. For when it comes to caps now, let me show you something. If there's something you know about me, that I always preach about topology. Topology is everything. So now look at this. If we go to display ground shading lines, you see now we see all the lines. These are the topologies that make up the geometry. Now you see that this bird does not have any line. That is not good. It's meant to have lines. So that's because in the caps, when we go down, the cap type is set to end gun. So now if we set to regular grid, you see now it has now way too much lines. This is also bad topology. So we might have to increase the size or lower it, one of the two. Depending on which one gets our result. I think increase the size, yeah. We'll have to increase the size so we get a decent level of topology. So now that we are done with this, I'd rather you not bevel this geometry from here, because this area has a shitty topology, and if you bevel it from here, it may give you complications when you're rendering. You start having artifacting and all that. So now that we are done with this, you can now go to go into your modifiers tab and add in a remesh. Now this extrude, we can drag it under the remesh, wait a bit, and it should arrange our topology for us. So now we have somewhat of a neater topology where everything just flows. Just to recap, I added a remesh, added an extrude. With my bird, I put my bird spline under the extrude to extrude it, and I put my extrude under the remesh to give it a better topology. Now let's increase the mesh density, so the calculations will be a lot neater. So I won't really play too much with the settings, because I feel like this already gives me a result I'm happy with. But you can tell it to detect hard edges, right, to help with the detection of hard edges. So let's see. Yes, I think this is even more better. But here, for some weird reason, isn't having any difference. So another way I can go about detecting hard edges is by if I manually like go into the edit mode and like select the edges, and that is just stressed. So I think we'll just go with this. So from here now, this is now where we know that okay, we are no longer working procedurally. We now want to work like crazy people. We now want to work like crazy people. Or you can right click this current state to object. Yeah. So this will convert this into a mesh. It will also keep your procedural workflow here, so you won't lose this. So I can just hide this. So to hide this, I have to use this dumbbell, these two dumbbells. Make sure that two of them are red, both the up one and the down one. The top one is for preview, the down one is for render. So if you make two of them red, both the preview and the render will be invincible. So now we are left with this our remesh here. So I think it's a neat This is a neat work now. Haba. So let's add the bevel. I know some of you guys are already like seeing the bevel deformer, but I'm struggling to find it. Okay, bevel. Yeah. Okay. Now we have added the bevel deformer. You drag this under your remesh. You drag under your remesh, and the bevel is for the edges here. See the edges here. See the edges here. So if I disable the bevel, it'll be straightforward. The bevel will just round up the edges for me. So I'll just increase the offset. I'll increase the offset a little bit. I'll increase the subdivision to make it smoother. I will still increase this a little bit. Now let me go back to ground shading so you will see the difference. So this will be that bevel with bevel, and I feel like the bevel is already too much. So let's lower the offset a little bit. Let's lower the offset a little bit. So yeah. Here's our Twitter. Here's our Twitter bird. Nice. Okay, now let's finish it up. So we'll have a rendered geometry that we can, a rendered image that we can, show to our friends. I will click on the remesh, scale it down, and how I scale down is by pressing T on the keyboard, or you click on this scale button, then to bring the scale gizmo or this angle, then just click outside and drag down. Then you press R on your keyboard to bring the rotate gizmo, rotate by 90 degrees. Then you press T on your keyboard to move, then I move it up Z-axis. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. So now let's add a cube. Scale of the cube. Now that we'll have it in like a fairly decent shape outside. I don't like the fact that it is not even. So 1000 by 1000. Okay, 1000 by 1000. I don't know if you felt that was okay for you, you can use that. Remember, you are the artist. So then hold on. Basically, I just wanted to align everything. So I clicked the cube, went into the object parameters and size X, size Y, and size Z. So I want to make them that they'll all be the same. So when I scale, it scales evenly. So I think I'll just barely scale it outside. I think I like it like this. So the cube is there, but then on this Z-axis, I just slim it down a little. So I think we are good. So now with this, I can now add another bevel. Bevel is here. Put the bevel under the cube. Select the cube. Increase the offset. Increase the subdivision. Then yeah, I think this is cool. Yeah. So now you might be using whatever render engine of choice. I know you might want me to use the Cinema 4D internal render engine. I don't like to teach it because I don't use it. I like to teach what I use and what is necessary to know also. I feel like you can get by just fine without having to know too much about the Cinema 4D inbuilt materials. I'll be using Corona for this tutorial. Let me save this project. Let me save this project. So I'll save this as Twitter else. Yeah, I'll show you how to go about adding the materials, shading and lighting in Corona. Corona will add the physical material tab, and in the material tab I'll go into base layer. For the color, I'll go to the base layer, the color, then I'll click on the color picker, then pick this blue here because I don't want to look up the kind of blue that Twitter uses online. Then I'll drag this blue down to the bird. So we have our blue. So I can create another material. I think this one I want it to be a black. Yeah, I want it to be a black. So note these are Corona materials. It's not a normal material. I go into the Corona tab and create a Corona physical material. Not the normal one that you get from here. Don't use this one. So now when I make it black and drag it in, so this will give us. This should make the cube black. It's taking a bit of time because I'm recording. That's odd. Why is it taking this long? Hold on. Yeah. So now let's close our material tab. Let's go to Corona, add a Corona sky. I'll change it from physical sky to HDRI. In the attribute manager, I'll change from physical sky to HDRI. Then I'll scroll now down to the shaders. I'll now have to import my HDRI. Note the HDRI and the project file will be down in the link below, so you can always follow up and check it out. So I imported my HDRI file. Let me Ctrl Z. Let me import it again. When I imported it, you saw it as this question here. So this question is basically, if you want the picture that you are importing to be saved in the same location that your project file is saved in, you click yes. If you don't want that, you want the picture to remain where it is and you picked it up, let it be there. You just reference it from there. You say no. Both have their use cases. Anyone you pick is fine, but for this one, pick no. So now that we have our HDRI set up, let's add a camera, Corona camera. Enter your camera, click on the camera. Most times, for make things look flattering, especially for product shot and all that, it's good to use a tighter focal length. So click on your camera, go into the attributes tab. You see the focal length, change the focal length to like ET. Yeah. So with this now, we should have that look. Basically, if you want to know how I'm panning about, I'm basically clicking 3 on my keyboard and orbiting around. You should have that look. That, oh, this is a high-end camera look. You can use like 130mm or so, but then it will compress the image. But I don't just use 80mm. But feel free to play with it to your heart's content. In fact, you know what? Play with it and send me the result of what you played with. Okay. I would like to add depth of field though. So go into the Corona setting by clicking on the tab. Go into DOF, depth of field, overwrite, enable depth of field, and I'll now go into the camera, go down to this focus distance, click on this speaker, then pick here so that it will calculate the distance between the camera and this. So it's basically like a camera lens, a real lens that is focusing on this. So I'm telling that, okay, focus on this. Now let me just move this here to the middle. Then so that I press Corona render interactive viewport. Yeah, so we should have something like that. But then it's not shiny. I want it to be shiny. It's not shiny. Well, let me make it very blurry. Let me make the background very blurry. That's because in our settings, our Corona camera settings, the F number is set to F16, which is really wild. So you can make it like F.5. Oh yeah. And something you also have to do is go here into the render settings, change it to Corona, click Corona, go into the camera processing tab, scroll down to depth of field, click and enable it. So this will also enable depth of field, so that you might have to reboot your viewport. So this is too much. I just want this. Yeah. So I'll set the F number to 0.02. And we should have a really blurry background, decent exposure. I think I will probably go to Corona Sky and increase the intensity to like 2. Yeah, I like this. So now with the materials, I will just click on the physical material, click on the base layer, go into the roughness and like lower the roughness amount so that it will be shinier. I think I'll do the same thing for the blue. I'll also lower the roughness, so it will also be shiny. So now all that remains now is rendering. Go into your settings. Let me just show you how to set up your rendering a bit. Set it to 1920 by 1080. Current frame, Corona. I think I'll make a video explaining this in depth. So just for this tutorial, set it to like 15, maybe 10. Depends on your laptop. We can go all crazy. 10. Set your denoising mode to Intel CPU, unless you know you have a graphics card, a strong one. Then use NVIDIA AI. Then but use Intel CPU, and select the location you want to save it in. Basically, this is an overview of what we did. In the output, we changed the resolution to 19 by 1080. Everything leave the same. We saved it to a location. Pick a location to save it. I have not saved mine. Why? For the render settings, the Corona render settings, we just set pass limit to 10. But remember, we enable depth of field. If we don't enable this, it won't render in your final render. So now let's render it out.
I hope you were able to follow up with the tutorial. If you have any questions, please do drop them in the comment section below and I will make sure to answer every one of them. Do remember to subscribe and turn on notifications to get informed as soon as the next tutorial video is out. Till then, stay creative.